welcome to episode 5 of the official NerdTalk Podcast, GeekSpeak. I'm your host, Sean, and joined as always on this, I don't have adjectives this time, episode is my co-host, Josh Rudy Rudolph. This is the podcast where I watch movies, make movies, play games, and more. What else can you ask for?
I'm so disappointed in you for not having an adjective ready for me. How dare you?
No, usually I have like wacky and frightening or silly magical episode. But okay, did you like your nickname this time, Josh? Notice something?
I'm bad at listening.
There was none. Because last week, you said your favorite of the superheroes' names was No Name. So this time, I gave you the No Name treatment.
Oh.
I know.
Continuity
that we somewhat have?
Sure, why not?
I've not watched, besides what we're talking about this week, I've not watched, anything else. So, you watched something this week. What'd you watch, Josh?
I have watched a couple of things. The day after we recorded the podcast, I went to the theaters to see The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. That's the third film in the Conjuring series, and the God knows how many movie in that whole cinematic universe. And boy, without James Wan directing, did it just become the most average of things. It was so boring. It wasn't that scary. And overall, it's just like, this is just nothing. Also, it was dimly lit as shit. Apparently, most modern horror filmmakers think that if your scene is so dark you can't tell what's going on, that means it's scary. It does not, but so many directors think it does. Overall, it's a meh. I wouldn't say go see it unless you're someone that likes horror movies, and even then, this is not one I would recommend. Another horror movie I watched this week was Psycho. That was the first time I had actually seen Psycho, and I really loved it. But the problem with it was that I knew pretty much every big twist and turn of the film. So when that stuff happened, I knew it was coming, and it didn't surprise me. And with this film specifically, I think knowing the twists really hindered my enjoyment of it. That doesn't mean it's a bad film, not by any measure. But I think that if you haven't seen the spoilers or anything like that, don't go seeking them out, because for this film, not knowing is going to be a lot better and a lot more fun. But yeah, Psycho was good.
I've literally only seen the shower scene.
I mean, most people have.
The stabby. Reep. Also, you watched something called Limbo, which your review says it gets sad, so that's neat.
Yes. I'm not going to get into a whole thing, but it's like this indie, well, I guess kind of indie foreign comedy about a Syrian refugee who's living in Scotland awaiting his approval for asylum. And just kind of the ups and downs of that all. It starts out really funny, the cinematography really embodies Wes Anderson type of movies. But then as the film progresses and starts to get more and more into the actual reality of the situation, the cinematography doesn't change, but it becomes so much more depressing because of it. It's a genius use of it. But Limbo is great. When it comes out I don't know if it'll come out to a theater near you, but once it comes out to streaming or digital stores, I would recommend checking it out. It was really good.
Nice. One thing from a listener we got was from my friend Nathan. He told me to tell you that you have a radio voice, and I want to hear what everyone else thinks. Does Josh have a radio voice? Email us to tell us if his voice is radio-y.
Does this mean I get to play Debbie Ryan's character in Radio Rebel or not? Because that's what this has all been building towards.
You're now the villain in the next one.
No, that's not as fun. I want to be Debbie Ryan's character. I want to do that hair tuck thing that she does.
Oh my god. And that's a decom we'll get to eventually.
Yes.
Which I've seen that one. I watched it on the car ride to New York City one time.
I just remember seeing the commercials for it, but I never actually watched it.
For those who do not know, DCOM stands for Disney Channel Original Movie. Every week on this podcast, we go through a different Disney Channel Original Movie to analyze the patterns of them over time and see how they evolve and grow for how Disney caters towards children. This week, we're not doing that.
No, we are changing up the formula.
But we're doing it come back next week, don't worry. And next week, we're doing whatever comes after Xenon.
Can of Worms.
Can of Worms, a.k.a. Not How to Eat Fried Worms, which already happened in Brink.
Yep.
Yeah, so next week, we'll go back to DComs, but this week we are not, because we have two main topics instead of one main topic. We talking Loki. Loki is the god of the mischievousness, and I'm excited to talk about the mischievousness because he goes, "Woo, green."
The best possible way to ever describe Loki.
I'm
I
operating at about like 30% capacity right now, Josh. My battery is low.
Dude, I'm always at 30% capacity.
Right now, I wish I could just be eating food right now, but we have a podcast here, so I can't be eating food. It's disappointing. So anyway, Loki. I'm excited to talk about Loki. We're also talking about the In the Heights film, which is funny because I actually have seen In the Heights on stage before. So we get two different perspectives on someone who went these a little more fresh than someone else who didn't. That being said, Loki was not based on anything in particular, and that's always fun.
It's an amalgamation of a lot of different things.
As always, we'll do non-spoilers first, then spoilers. But we're gonna get into spoilers for Loki very quickly.
Yes, because we kind of have to.
It's not a lot you can. Well, at least we're getting spoilers for other MCU films fast. To talk about Loki, you will have to have seen Avengers: Infinity War, and Endgame, and all three Avengers, all Avengers films.
Every movie Loki's been in, you'll have to have seen.
Because even if we don't spoil Loki the show yet, that one will come up.
Yeah,
or those ones. Do you want to do news first or the topics first, Josh?
Let's get into news first.
Because of course we're back with the Knives Out castings.
Yay! We didn't have it last week, and that was disappointing.
Is last week the only week we didn't have Knives Out 2 casting?
I think so, because during the second, right before our second episode when we recorded, there was 4 or 5 more people that had just been cast.
So this is episode 5 though. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Knives Out 2 sequel casting because first off, nay, because it's going to Netflix instead of.
Of course, it always has to be a nay because Netflix.
For anyone who doesn't know, we love Netflix, but for anyone who doesn't know. Well, in the series, we do a yay or nay for each bit of everything. And for this specifically, for any Knives Out 2 casting, we always have a flat nay. Any Knives Out 2 news. Because it's not going to theaters, and it makes us upset.
It was originally, but then Netflix said, here's hundreds of millions of dollars, and Lionsgate was just like, ooh, money up front, I will gladly take.
Which, honestly, same. But
I mean, yeah, but still, it pisses me off.
Yeah, so Knives Out 2... the Outer Banks star Madeline Klein joins Daniel Craig in the sequel, reporting by Deadline and other places. Fun! Following her breakout role in Netflix smash hit Outer Banks, Madeline Klein has found her first major studio role following the show's debut, as she is set to join Daniel Craig's next installment of Knives Out, which Netflix recently landed the rights to. Also, there's Dave Bautista, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn. I almost said Catherine Kahn. Leslie Odom Jr., Kate Hudson, Edward Norton have all been in the cast too, and that's all been great. What do you think of this news right now, Josh?
I have not seen Outer Banks yet, but like the first Knives Out, like with Ana de Armas, the only thing I had seen her in was Blade Runner 2049, and she was good in that, but I didn't know if she was going to be able to lead a film, and she was she was fantastic in it. We have no idea how big Madeline's role is in this, and since this is her first big major movie role, I am really curious to see what she does, as well as the rest of the cast. But yeah, I'm excited for Knives Out 2, but still nay because Netflix.
Pretty much dittoed everything. Before I say anything about this, my thoughts on this casting in general, sorry about last week's audio problems. Something came up because we recorded in a very different setup. Since we recorded so late, I didn't have the same setup as we usually would. That being said, that'll be fixed on from this one is fixed, and then going forward is fixed. But about this casting, back to that. Yay, because I trust Rian Johnson?
Yeah.
That's kind of about. Honestly, most of these castings will probably be default yay on who they are because it's Rian Johnson's directing. Even if they're bad, I really trust him as a director. Okay, even if you don't like Last Jedi, the performances were still good.
There's not been a single person he has casted in any of his movies that I've seen that has been a bad choice. Looper, Last Jedi, Knives Out, everyone is perfectly cast.
I trust him, and that's cool. So that's that news. Also, what you might ask us, why do we talk about this one if we have not known who this person is? We are avoiding some other news this week because we don't know full information about it, but this one, it's Knives Out 2, and we keep talking about it, so we can't stop at this point.
It's kind of become a segment on our when we talk about news. Like we always have to talk about the Knives Out 2 casting, even if we don't know who the actor is.
Because it's going to be a default Nate, so that's kind of just funny. I don't know. Anyway, it's funny to us, and so shut up, enjoy it. I'm being aggressive today. Woo! Can we just have a laugh break, Josh?
Yes, we can take a laugh break.
Thank you! Okay. Anyway, back to news. We still don't have theme songs. Give us theme songs. We like them.
Yes.
That was supposed to be
something with doo-doo. Something with doo-doos and da-das, and maybe a synthesizer.
Yeah, we're not commanding you to, just like, please, it's helpful. We can't do music
do it.
for
You
stuff.
must do it.
We don't do the instruments. So it'd be helpful.
I mean, I used to play the saxophone, but like getting me to do that is not going to be good.
So Aquaman 2. Today we are the most unhinged. At least I told you. Maybe I'm operating like 10% capacity. My battery is really dying right now, so I'm so sorry, but I am loving this.
It's all good.
I have enthusiasm for the Aquamans. I love Aquaman as a character. I think the first one's really fun. Like if you don't think it's great, it's a very fun movie.
Aquaman is such a weird movie for me to watch because like it is so goddamn fun and like doesn't give two shits, and it's just like I am fully on board for this. But like anytime when I just like stop and just try to think about like what the story is and what's happening and like why things happen, I'm just like, this is all nonsensical and not in the best way. But then James Wan's fun direction comes in. I'm just like, never mind. I don't care. I'm having fun.
Well, I think one thing you don't realize then is that it's literally the story of King Arthur, like beat for beat.
No, I completely see that. I just think that there's like some elements. I just think there's some elements that's just like it's like there's a lot of elements like when he goes to Atlantis and like fights his brother for the first time, like you can completely cut that section out after he gets the map and you will miss nothing. Like there's no actual real growth that happens in it besides like one flashback. Other than that, it's just there so we can see an octopus play drums, and I love that.
Aquaman 2. The official title is The Lost Kingdom, right?
Yes, and as I said before we started recording, are they trying to find Atlantis? Because they've already found it. They live in it. So what Lost Kingdom are they trying to look for?
Just fucking... What? You already found it, bitches. You're there.
If you lost it, I'm very concerned.
That being said, I think they mentioned there wasn't... They say there was a Lost Kingdom, Atlantis. Isn't that where, past the Kraken, where she stayed? The Lost Kingdom? The mom?
Maybe that might be past Julie Andrews, because that's also something. Julie Andrews turned down a cameo in Mary Poppins Returns to voice the giant Kraken in Aquaman, and I fucking love that.
So yeah, I think Lost, because they said in the first one, I think there was a Lost Kingdom of Atlantis. Like there were like 7 kingdoms, and one of them like fell and was lost forever. I think the Lost Kingdom was the one that was past the trench creatures that they couldn't get to and guarded by the Kraken, where we meet the mysterious character.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about that mysterious place where there's dinosaurs. There are dinosaurs in Aquaman 1.
This is how it connects to Jurassic World. Jurassic World takes place in that world.
And because Fast and the Furious said they're open to a Jurassic World crossover, that means why Vin Diesel is now in the DCEU as his character from Jurassic. I can't.
At the end of Fast Furious 9, John Cena uses an interdimensional time-traveling car to travel dimensions through time with Vin Diesel just so they can fight forever across different dimensions. Make it happen, you cowards!
And they have found the Aquaman. Anyway, it's called The Lost Kingdom. That's the news. They started filming. That's what's happening. Production Aquaman 2 is starting happening.
There have not been major...
Yay or nay, Josh, for the title and production starting?
I'm giving it a yay for production starting, but also nay because as far as we know, Amber Heard is still.
You can give
cast.
only one. You know this.
Fine. I'll give it a nay because Amber Heard is still cast in the movie, as far as we're aware.
I like the title though, and I'm intrigued I forgot about
You forgot about Amber Heard, didn't you?
Yeah, I forgot about Amber Heard. So now I'm conflicted because I was about to give us a very hard yay, and now I'm like, eh. I'm gonna give it now a nay. Um, that being said, I think both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, uh, they're both actors in real life, so we don't know how much we can believe on either side of either story because there's a lot. Um, I'm not gonna get into that whole range of things,
It's a whole thing.
but I want to I want WB to have more accountability for their in general. So
More accountability in everything.
right,
Because they're doing a bad job at it.
but nay, because the Herd girl's back.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone reference to her as the Herd girl.
Well, now you have. Would you already call her? I don't know, Ginger with the scales?
No, that's weirder. We're sticking with the Herd girl.
Okay. Next up on the news docket, there's a rumor. We don't often talk about rumors, but this one's pretty big. That in Black Panther Dose #2, actor. That's a name. Tenoch space Huerta. Teno Huerta. I've never heard of him before this, so I don't know what he's done, how to pronounce his name, so I very much apologize.
I'm on IMDb. He is a Hispanic actor who's mostly done, it looks like, Spanish speaking stuff. So if he is cast in Black Panther 2, this will be one of the first big English speaking roles, especially as a lead. He was in Narcos Mexico from 2018 to 2020.
He was Inspector. The James Bond film.
He was Inspector as Mexican Man in Lift.
Oh. All right.
Yeah.
So
he's in the newest Purge movie. I don't know how big his role is going to be.
The Forever Purge. Oh, he's in Stand Clear of the Closing Doors, which we both watched.
We did. I forgot about that movie.
He plays Ricardo Senior. That's Ricky's dad, the main character in that? Okay. So we have
seen him in something.
But I
don't remember.
He's barely in it, to be fair. That movie was focused on a kid on a subway.
Granted, we were like half awake while watching that movie.
Sorry, Fuchs. That's a professor. We watched the movie before. I'm gonna give this one a nay, actually, though, because I actually would have preferred. I like giving unknown actors more roles, though. I've not seen him in anything, so I can't judge that off anything. I'm gonna give the idea of Namor a yay. He's cool, and it connects the Fantastic Four a lot. If you don't know, there's a weird, kind of cheaty relationship between Invisible Woman and Namor a lot.
I think I know like just a tiny bit about that. I think during the Civil War comic, I think that was the first time I noticed it.
Yeah, sometimes he low-key kidnaps her. Anyway, we're moving past that fast. Namor's a very interesting character. If you don't know who also Namor is called Namor the Submariner, he is the title of the first mutant, not because he was the first mutant canonical, like in the timeline of Marvel, but he is in Marvel Comics issue 1. Namor, he is the first written mutant in Marvel.
He's an old boy.
He's also basically Aquaman. They're both kings of Atlantis. So we went from Aquaman news to Aquaman news, man.
Yeah, but Namor is more villain than Aquaman is.
I would say anti-hero.
Well, yeah, but more evil than Aquaman is. He does more not good things.
He has his own agenda. He works for himself. Namor is also a badass. He is shirtless all the time. He wears a Speedo and has like little green chicas with wings on them. That's pretty cool. He has fun eyebrows too. Like Namor's staple on his look is like his eyebrows and features. I would say look-wise, I probably would have casted an East Asian actor. I'm surprised that they went with Hispanic actor, just because look-wise, he always to me felt like an Asian character.
Mm-hmm.
Or like Atlantean, of course, but like look-wise, I interpreted the character as being an Asian actor who would play him. Similarly with Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond. Because if the race is ambiguous enough, I would have gone with that one for this one character. But I love giving more actors a chance, so that's cool. I think I changed my own mind here. I'm gonna give it a yay now. I changed my own mind. Just talking.
I'm gonna give it a yay because unknown actors always love casting them. I completely 100% trust Ryan Coogler in everything he does. I've not seen a single bad film of his. And to comment on like the race of the character, Fishman underwater, similar to discussions of how like aliens like should be portrayed like in terms of like the race. It does not matter. In
I
most cases,
agree.
it does not matter. So to me, like if people are complaining like for that specific reason, I'm just like he is a fish man who lives underwater. It does not matter.
100% agree with that. I think race does not matter to the character to me. I don't want him to be white. Outside that one, I don't think his character should be white at all. My thing was I was surprised it was the race they chose. That's all.
Yeah.
Because the character looks like an Asian man to me.
Yeah.
Like an East Asian. Like he looks, I'd say probably Korean, like South Korean. But again, that's just from a white man's perspective on how a fictional Atlantean fish man looks. When in reality, he was probably drawn to be a white man.
Oh, most definitely.
What matters here? I'm glad a person of color is getting this role. That's great. I'm glad a Spanish actor is getting this role. That's cool. I really want more people of color to play superheroes and to be in films. Please, restore the Snyderverse, if only to give Ray Fisher and Wayne D. Carr and the actor who played Ryan Choi, give them their roles back. Please, WB. Movies can be frustrating.
That was close to the mic.
We both gave this a yay. Woo.
What's next?
Jusu Diop. So, an actual professor that I've had twice now, in school, is making a film that Anna Diop, who was in Titans as Starfire and still is going to be in. That's pretty awesome.
And Michelle Monaghan, who has been in many giant Hollywood movies and shows as well, has just been cast earlier today.
Anna Diop is fantastic.
She's great. Remember when we were rewatching Us, and I pointed out to you that that was Starfire and that was Black Manta, and your mind was blown?
Yeah, she's great.
I remember when like I was going to rate it on Letterboxd. You saw I gave it like 4.5, and you're like, "Why are you giving it 4.5? What problems are there?" And I was just thinking, I was just like, "Oh shit, there really aren't any problems. Never mind," and give it 5 stars.
I don't think it has a problem though. Like I don't see any issues with the movie.
Sometimes in my free time, I just like scroll through like an actor's like IMDb and just start going down this weird rabbit hole, just exploring where everyone is from and what they've been in. I love how we have gone down. I love how we started talking about like the movie our professor has made, and now we have devolved into the movie Us.
So, Josh, what is this movie called that is Anna Diop and Michelle Monaghan are in?
Yes, the movie is called Nanny. And our professor, she is directing it. I want to say that she is writing it as well.
Have you had her
I could
yet?
be wrong on that. Huh?
Have you had her?
I've not. The only interaction I remember having with her was during the film festival last fall. When she commented about like the video essay I had made. We just kind of had like that brief exchange. But other than that, I have not had her as professor. Yes, the article says that she is writing and directing the movie. So what it's about, it's a timely thriller that puts the immigrant story front and center. The film follows an undocumented nanny, played by Diop, who takes a job caring for the privileged child of a wealthy Manhattan family on the Upper East Side, in the hopes that she may earn enough money to bring her 6-year-old son from West Africa to live with her in New York. As Aisha prepares for the arrival of her young son, a violent supernatural presence invades her reality, threatening the American dream, in quotes, so she painstakingly pieced together. It was selected as a screenplay for the 2019 Sundance Institute Creative Producing Lab and Summit. The script was chosen for Sundance's 2020 Writers Lab and the 2020 Directors Lab. The script was also featured on the 2020 Blacklist. That's pretty fucking big.
Jusu is an amazing professor. I'm so glad I've gotten any advice from her. She's read her reading on scripts is really cool. So
I've not been taught by her, but from what I've heard she's fantastic, and I wish that I've had her as a professor.
You never will now, sadly, I don't think.
That's not fair.
This movie, I'm giving this a hard EA because That's awesome. And we know this person.
I'm giving it a hard yay, so that way we might be able to get in on these film sets as well. Wink, wink.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm giving this a genuine yay. I am excited not just for her, but for the film as a whole. I love this casting already. I am very excited to see what it's going to be like.
I want to see everyone from Titans do more amazing stuff because the cast is fantastic in that show.
They're so good. Like I've heard people have want to cast Ryan Potter, who plays Beast Boy, as Invincible for the new movie.
Yes.
I'm just like, yes, do that, please. He's so good, and everyone in the God.
So that's the Anna Diop news.
it divulged a lot, but it's still support the movie when it comes out.
Nanny, you said?
Yes, that is what it is called.
By Nikiata Jusu, and she's awesome, Nikiatu. Next up is also involves DC-ish things. The Beetle.
That's you want to try that again, buddy?
Beetle. Blue Beetle is actually telling you in continuity the second Blue Beetle, aka Jaime Reyes. I think that's how to pronounce it. He is a Hispanic character, but the Blue Beetle movie is now going only to HBO Max instead of the theaters, which really bothers me.
I'm not happy.
Blue Beetle. Oh, also Anna Diop, yay. Cast Nikiata Jusu, yay. Blue Beetle. This is a nay because first off, any movie right to streaming that should very clearly be in theaters is a nay because this is part of the DCEU. This goes back to, is it dead or not? We don't know because this is all confusing. But Blue Beetle's an amazing character. He's kind of a mix of a lot of things. Like if you like Power Rangers, you might like Blue Beetle. If you like Green Lantern, you might like Blue Beetle. This character is awesome. He has a scarab beetle on his back that becomes an armor that reacts to his thoughts and movements. It's like armored venom, but it works with him and not to kill people.
I actually know a small bit about Blue Beetle because he was a character in the Injustice 2 video game. And when I heard the news that Blue Beetle was going to be an HBO Max movie, I was just like, is he a Hispanic character? I can't remember. And then I Wikipedia'd him, and it just kind of said that he was more kind of alien and stuff. So I'm just like, this doesn't really help me. But now confirming with you that he is a Hispanic character, I'm like, yes. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Jaime Reyes is, yes, the man who is the boy is the host of the Scarab. See, why does that matter? Why does race matter? Because the pattern that WB is showing with their DC properties. Warner Bros. For now has been sidelining all their people of color, and it's insane that it keeps happening. They've been called out on it. They've had an actual lawsuit against them with Ray Fisher, and they're still doing this. Why?
Because I'm looking now at the future DC projects that have been announced. Static Shock. That's an HBO Max movie. Blue Beetle, an HBO Max movie. Zatanna has not been confirmed yet, but I'm going to go out on a whim here and say it probably will be HBO Max. Batgirl, I'm pretty sure was confirmed to be an HBO Max project from the directors of the Miss Marvel show and Bad Boys for Life, both of who they are not white. I don't want to get their race wrong, but I know they are not white.
Okay.
A pattern here, you say. Yes, there is a pattern.
Also, there's nothing wrong with supporting your streaming service like HBO Max. That's great. Put things on there. How about you put all these movies on there after they've gone to theaters? That sounds better. WB sidelined Martian Manhunter, Jon Stewart, Ryan Choi's The Atom,
they canceled,
Ray Fisher's Cyborg. They canceled the Cyborg movie.
They canceled Ava DuVernay's New Gods movie. They canceled The Trench. I don't know much about that, but that was something else that they canceled.
By James Wan, a person of color as well.
Yeah, but he is directing Aquaman 2, but also that's the one of the few exceptions to this because you have a Polynesian actor in the lead role and James Wan directing.
And that only happened because Aquaman 1 made $1 billion.
Yeah,
literally $1 billion. Meanwhile, they're making Super Pets.
Starring Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart as Ace the Bat Hound.
Which, that's great. And that also is supporting people of color. But they're also huge celebrities.
And it's also an animated movie.
It's not all DCEU. They are just sidelining the people of color, so that's a huge nay. Because also, Blue Beetle is an amazing character that should be on screen. And that watching him as usually a teenage character interact with like characters like Superman and Batman would be really freaking cool.
We love WB. They're making great choices. I hope that the Discovery merger changes a lot of heads, because I think that if it does, it might improve things.
So Lord of the Rings is cool, Josh.
Lord of the Rings is cool. I rewatched the trilogy a few months ago. Great trilogy, great
Same.
movies.
Lord of the Rings is amazing. If you've not read or watched Lord of the Rings, what are you doing? Get the podcast. Go watch or read it. It's great.
I own the movies for like 3 years, and for some reason never watched them. Why? I don't know.
And then I got you to watch them while
You
our roommate slept.
I don't know how he slept through those, but that man is a mystery.
The Horn of Gondor, he's calling you. Get up, Dodge. Get out of bed. Anyway, Lord of the Rings is fantastic, and there's news. Also, yeah, all we're saying is Lord of the Rings is great without any news. So
exactly, that's the news. Lord of the Rings is just great.
The Hollywood Reporter reports that's a good way to word that. Okay, so Lord of the Rings anime movies in the works from New Line, and Warner Bros. Animation. Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews, the creators behind Netflix's Emmy-winning The Dark Crystal: Age of Renaissance series, are writing The War of Rohirrim, which is being directed by Kenji Kenji K. Anyway, I am fully on board with this, and also anime, like, that style would look so cool with this like Eastern European feeling. That sounds cool with this.
Yes, I am just hearing the news of something like this that like it gets me excited.
Because the last thing we had in this Middle Earth was the Hobbit trilogy, and I didn't watch the third one yet.
I still haven't. I had the choice of seeing that or the Seth Rogen movie, The Interview, that almost caused World War III. I was just like, I'm more intrigued in seeing what almost caused World War III than how the Hobbit trilogy ends.
That's fair. I will also say that this is a big yay for me because I love the Lord of the Rings, but also because anime is pretty dope, and seeing this an anime version of a amazing war from, I forgot which era it's in.
Do you think it's going to be in like a traditional like 2D anime style, or do you think they're going to do like a 3D CG kind of style?
I definitely think it will be 2D.
Okay.
I don't know why I say that because I don't have any evidence for this, but I think that's just what I'm calling that now. If I'm wrong, I will Venmo Josh. No, if I'm wrong, Josh will Venmo me the money he owes me.
hey, this is not how that works.
And if I'm right, he'll still have to do it because he owes me money.
Damn, you're right.
No, but anyway, if I'm wrong, I will. Josh, you will owe $1 less.
Oh, yay.
But overall, I'm really excited for this. I keep saying, just Lord of the Rings is so good.
It's so good. Watch Lord of the Rings. Don't watch the
We'll
Hobbit.
eventually talk about the podcast. We're going to watch the extended editions for this one day and just go on this for like a rant.
Oh, wait, for the Hobbit or for Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, extended editions.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we're going to have to watch the Hobbit extended editions.
There's not extended. I don't think there's extended ones for that.
There are.
Oh.
They make each of them like 3 hours. I think except for Battle of 5 Armies, that it only makes it like 2 hours and 40.
All right. Well, Boba Fett has news too. Oh, wait. We say yay for Lord of the Rings.
Yay.
News, the Battle of Rohirrim. Next piece of news. Boba Fett production happened.
Yes.
And my note this just says Josh talks about it.
So if you have seen the second season of The Mandalorian, we find out some things about Boba Fett. And at the end of Mandalorian season 2, we got a tiny tease that a show called The Book of Boba Fett was going to get made. And now it has wrap production. It has the actor that played Jango Fett playing Boba Fett for obvious reasons. Ming-Na Wen is reprising her role from The Mandalorian as well. I imagine Dave Filoni has some involvement, and I believe Robert Rodriguez as well.
It's got Disney. I'm gonna give it a yay. Actually, no. I'm gonna be bad to Josh. I know he's excited for this. I'm gonna give it a nay on a petty reason that I don't really want more Star Wars content right now. I love Star Wars. I want more. I want a break from Star Wars though, like an actual Disney take a break.
This is Disney, dude. That ain't happening.
No, I know. This is my one obligatory Disney stop for Star Wars.
I think the next movie won't be for Star Wars won't be until Patty Jenkins her Star Wars movie comes out, but that's not going to be an episodic thing.
No, but then go on.
It's supposed to be some spin-off, but not like Solo, a Star Wars story, or Rogue One. It's going to be actually something different. So I'm excited for that. That's not part of this news, but I'm excited for that.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the next time we talk about Boba Fett or anything else Star Wars related, I will not take into account the idea of Disney should stop making Star Wars things.
Yeah.
This is my one obligatory Disney stop, therefore nay. That's the news. Do. Woo! Thank you for still listening to us at this point. First thing that's happened is Loki.
Loki.
Episode 1 was called For Glorious Purpose, which is reference to Avengers 1.
He said that before. I know that reference. And that's a reference to Avengers.
Thank you for knowing things, Josh.
I'm doing great.
Loki, the god of mischievousness. He walked into a desert by teleporting.
with a
rock.
It's not a rock, it's more cube-shaped, but sure, why not?
No, it's not a rock, it's a boulder! Oh, SpongeBob.
The pioneers used to ride these babies for miles.
He's a friend. Anyway, Loki's great, because it makes things a lot different in the MCU now for one reason, the sacred timeline. And that's not spoiler.
Yes.
I'm not saying anything about that yet. We're talking about spoilers later, but for that one thing, that gets confusing.
Yes. So before we get into like our thoughts, let's give a brief synopsis of what's happening in the show.
I don't know if we can yet without spoilers, because it's only one episode.
I can form a way.
Okay.
And if you think that it's spoiler filled, you can just cut it out.
It's Endgame.
Yes. So after certain things that happen in Endgame, Loki is now arrested by the Time Variance
by Owen
Alliance.
Wilson.
By Owen Wilson, and for reasons of meddling with the timeline. And so now Loki has no idea who he is or what his purpose in life is. And now because of Owen Wilson and things that are happening in the timeline, he might have found a new reason or purpose.
Because of Owen Wilson.
Only because of Owen Wilson, Mr. Ka-chow himself.
Before we get into spoilers. Spotlight lies? Look, I'm lowering my capacity right now of battery. It's now down to 15%.
I thought you said it was at 10%.
I meant to say it. See, that's my point. I'm gonna put it like 6 now. Loki, this episode. Are you Loki now? Loki, this episode's wild. First off, they had a cool reference to Iron Man 1. If you didn't catch the reference, they with the exact, like, almost shot-for-shot recreation of the scene where Tony Stark is in the desert, falls in there with all his metal pieces.
Oh, yeah.
That it was a direct reference. I don't know if you caught that. But yeah, that's really cool. I like that because it's also a kind of new beginning for this character, and where the whole journey of him now starts, which is interesting because that's exactly the turning point for Tony Stark too, where he's like lost and alone. And that's a good way to start that. I like that.
Yeah.
That little mirroring.
For me, one of the things I absolutely loved about this is the production design and the way the cinematography and lighting is. It feels so different from every other MCU project, but still feels like it's a part of it. It's great. I love the look. I love the feel of it. It made me so happy, just the whole episode.
Nice. It's really, really cool. I have a problem with costumes, though, one thing. On a small thing. The TVA, the Time Variance Authority, which also in the comics, travel through time, naturally. And they don't change their clothes according to time. There's a moment where a little girl sees Owen Wilson, today's world Owen Wilson. Again, he's called Mobius. Well, I'll get into that in a minute, because that's also a cool reference to something else. He's wearing a suit and tie, and it's like the 1500s. I would be so confused that I saw a demon if I was her.
Well, I mean, in the context of the show, like the TVA like resets like timelines like when something has gone wrong. So by the time that they're gone and they've reset everything, the people, if they've seen them, they're not going to remember anything that happened. So the clothing choices that they're wearing, like at first, it's just like that's an odd choice for 1572, but at the end of the day, it's not going to matter.
Did you know the exact year?
No, I was making a
Okay.
guess. I knew it was the 1500s. I
Me
didn't know the
too.
exact year.
I was very confused by that. Yeah, it was still like a little weird though.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're watching that scene, it's just, wait, you're in a tie. You're wearing loafers, sir. You should not be talking to this girl. Also, people said that scene is a reference to of course, Mephisto, which is not at all that the
People,
well,
give up the Mephisto theories, please.
The reason why is because it's a stained glass of a devil. The referencing, he's cloaked like a figure we see later in that episode, and he has horns, referencing the main character of the show. That's what that was.
People, enough with
Loki
the
has
Mephisto
horns.
theories.
That's why they did that. Okay, what else can we talk about that's not spoilery? Oh, I know.
The cast.
The cast is fantastic.
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston.
He's perfect as always. Owen Wilson, like you're gonna get exactly what you hope for, and it's glorious.
He's not comedic. I mean, he has funny moments because it's him as an actor. It's his moments are not jokes.
He has a very charming personality to him that is a lot of fun to watch. Not in a comedic way, but it's just like, I want to see this guy just like talk and do things all day.
Also, I like Owen Wilson with short gray hair. It works.
Yeah, at first when I first saw it in the trailer, I was just like, well, this is different. But like at the end of the episode, I'd be like, I want to see him more with that hairstyle.
So about Owen Wilson himself, not the man, but the character. His name is Mobius, and if you don't remember in Avengers Endgame, the way they time travel,
the Mobius
strip.
Wow.
You didn't realize that before?
I didn't. It never crossed my mind until just now.
I've been seeing things, and no one's pointed out yet. The Mobius strip. They have an inverted Mobius strip to time travel, which is a weird. It's nonsense endgame logic, whatever. But they have them the same name, and that's a really fun little nod reference about time travel. Now the guy we see time travel in this is named after the thing they use to time travel. Neat. From here on out, we're gonna say spoilers for this episode of Loki, because go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. We can't say too much without spoiling pretty big plot things. So
yeah,
from here on out, if you haven't seen Loki, you can skip ahead to the In the Heights part, or skip ahead to the super weird story. Go ahead and do that if you want to, or go back and watch Loki and hit play. You gone? Okay, cool. Okay, so
where do we start?
Oh my god, I need to talk about this timeline thing because it really bothers me.
When I first saw it, so like to explain to people that somehow forgot or just don't care, there's an infomercial video that Loki sees that explains what the TVA is, why he's here, and the timeline. And it's revealed that these three beings, I don't remember what they're referred to as, but I'm calling them the
timekeepers.
Okay, I was going to call them the time gods. Same thing. And at one point, the universe was just the multiverse, everything, everywhere. It was just utter fucking chaos. So these three beings decide we're gonna streamline it all, make it all into one big main timeline. So that way everything stays normal. And if anyone does anything that makes a timeline go askew, and forms a new path, similar to how the explanation in Endgame was for when they took an Infinity Stone, the TVA will stop them, correct them, and reset them. So that way the timeline stays pure.
I have thoughts, and it's mostly that it removes all of the stakes and choice in a way, and it's super inconsistent. It's super inconsistent because
the time travel in it first introduced in Endgame was also inconsistent.
I think it causes more issues because there's already a huge plot hole. If in their logic, Loki wasn't supposed to escape, that means that they weren't supposed to time travel. That means they weren't supposed to beat Thanos at all. Because here's why: they go back in the 70s, and that wasn't supposed to happen. That means in Endgame, Tony Stark and Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, they go back in time to 2012. But the only reason that they went back to the 70s was because Loki escaped. Therefore, the TVA should have captured and erased Steve Rogers and Tony Stark in the 70s.
I'm going to go on a whim here and say that because their goal was to find the Space Stone, that going to a different point in time was fine because the end goal was then to get the Infinity Stones, and then they were going to put them all back to correct the mistakes of the timeline. So that I'm going with that logic on it.
But that being said, it still makes it so there's still an Infinity Stone missing in time.
When you introduce time travel in anything, no matter what it is, big or small, it's so goddamn hard just to make it like all make sense, both with like the rules of how it works and how it works consistently in the universe. Because at the end of the day, it's all nonsense, but it's nonsense that needs to make sense, and it's some of the hardest sci-fi to make sense.
I also saw a tweet that made me kind of, or TikTok made me kind of sad. Remember in Avengers Endgame when Steve says to Falcon, to Sam that when he asked, "Do you want to talk about her?" No, I don't think I will. There's a good chance because that scene kind of erases a lot of Agent Carter otherwise. There's a good chance that the TVA, Steve going back there and trying to be with her, they took Peggy Carter.
I like this theory, but as we saw with this episode of how quick the TVA was to capture Loki, I don't think that Steve would have had the time to time travel back to the 1940s, just like barge into like Peggy's house, like he somehow magically knows where she lives, kicks down the door, just like throws on a record and then just starts dancing with her like on a whim. Because like in this world's logic with how fast the TVA works, like they would be there lickety split quick to stop it.
I think you're correct in this. Which also then implies that this is 100% all the exact same timeline. What that means is that the Russo brothers were wrong and the writers were right in Endgame about Steve, and that it was the same Steve now who was Sharon Carter's uncle.
This you see now my brain is starting to break.
But you know what? Did what I said make sense though? That now it has to be. That means now for sure Steve Rogers kissed his niece. Loki, the show, made it 100% confirmed that Steve Rogers kissed his niece.
Okay, I'm not defending pedophilia in any way, shape, or form, but there's no way that Russo brothers or the writers knew that shit was going to happen back in Civil War. No, there's no fucking way. Right. But now it just makes it more awkward.
No, exactly. Because before it was like, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Weird timeline stuff. Now it's confirmed to be one timeline currently, and that's really funny to me. The TVA just followed the orders of the timekeepers, which are now apparently pretty awful people.
Yeah, like the shit that they've like let go down just in order to keep like the timeline pure. It's just like not only like World War II and like so much other shit, but like half the universe disappeared and you did nothing.
I like that this is probably going to introduce the multiverse because clearly it's going to break at the end of all this.
Loki's definitely breaking the multiverse.
Which is fun because that's what we thought was going to happen in WandaVision. But nope. So, or maybe it kind of did with her kids. It's confusing.
But we know that by the end of this, at least, it's somehow going to tie into Doctor Strange 2, right? Because Doctor Strange is called Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
There's Tom Hiddleston recently did an interview where he said he was, on his birthday, he was acting as Loki. He was also spotted in London on his birthday. Meaning, what was filming in London on the time of his birthday was Doctor Strange 2. So he unofficially confirmed he was Doctor Strange 2. Not trying to.
Oh, kind of a big thing relating to this just now. The creator of Loki wrote Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't measure that. Yeah, that's pretty huge. And the fact that Loki is also, because of what I just said, kind of accidentally confirmed that he was in that movie.
That's curiouser.
Yep, because the only thing filming in the MCU at that time and in London was that.
The plot thickens, literally.
Also, this episode, yay or nay?
I'm giving it a yay, mainly because of just like, because the first thing I was worried about hearing a Loki show was they were going to undo his death in in Infinity War, and technically they did, but also like the path that they set him on, I fucking love. My favorite thing in this episode was when Owen Wilson is talking to him, and he's talking about just like, you're a villain, like your set path in life is to help these people grow. And I fucking love that.
My favorite.
I love that.
Yes.
That is genius. Because like that makes like so much sense. Just like technically your life doesn't matter. It's only there to help these people grow, essentially the heroes. And like, that kind of like breaks him in a sense throughout the rest of the episode, just like finding out like, oh, there's nothing to my life anymore. And like he sees how the rest of his life is going to go. It doesn't end well for him. And so now he's like, he's completely lost. And I fucking love that.
My favorite part of the entire episode is literally the line of, you help other people be their best they can be. You don't get to be a best. And like it's so cool because also from a writing standpoint, like that's literally what the definition of antagonist is. Like
Yeah.
what an antagonist is to do. They don't antagonists do not have a purpose like for themselves. Their entire purpose is to get in the way of the protagonist's objective. That is plain and simple what they are. So they reduced him in this version of the character to just a simple antagonist, and that's amazing. That's a cool meta writing thing they did.
I love that. And like it even makes you think just like because of like how his arc was up to Infinity War, like he was starting to get to that level of like growing himself. But once he got to that point of sacrificing himself to save Thor, like that was again like not really for him, but to make sure that Thor like grows and like becomes like as fully strong and
Hey,
capable as he can be.
you ready? I'm about to make that scene in Infinity War even sadder.
Oh goody, I can't wait.
In Loki, if you haven't watched it yet, which you probably should at this point, he sees like basically a slideshow of his life. He goes through a video file of his entire life. You'd think it would say end of file once Thanos chokes him out. No. It says end of file after we see a wide shot of Thor holding his body, leading to the conclusion that Loki didn't die instantly. He died in his brother's arms.
Damn it, that's sad.
Right? And no one's talking about that either.
Or no, he died in his arms as the ship exploded.
Right.
So like even like in that Loki in that moment, he doesn't know if Thor survived.
Right. That's what I was going to say. The next part of that was that this version of Loki watching himself in his life now believes that he died and then Thor died.
Fuck.
After watching his dad and mom die right previously, and then in the scene before. So
He in this show, he has had the worst goddamn day of his life. First he loses to the Avengers, he loses all of that. Then he's arrested by these time people. He finds out that his life is meaningless, that it doesn't exist like for himself. Like he has no say in anything. Then he finds out like if everything was normal, like he's gonna fucking die. He inadvertently caused his mom's death. He sees his dad die, and then he doesn't even know if Thor survives. Like and he also dies. So it's just like it's a hell of a fucking day for him.
I will say that I never put together that he's the one who sent the Dark Elves to Frigga before this. Like I never thought about that.
Neither did I.
And that hurt more.
Because wasn't he like sending her the Dark Elf to like where Jane was because that's probably where Thor was going to be, but he didn't know that his mom was going to be there.
I don't remember like where he was sending him to. But it was like I thought it was just being funny, giving him directions. Like that scene in Avatar where he's like, "Oh, the stairs to the left. You can't miss them." Like that one moment.
But now that scene has so much more weight to it.
Yeah, which it's supposed to have had the whole time, but we didn't realize it. So that's fun. Here's another sad moment. Ready for it?
Yes.
First off, it's played as a joke that Loki, you don't know you're a robot or not? Because there's a scene where Loki goes through a robot detector, where if you go through it, you just die. And he winces and is like, okay, good. He doesn't know he's a robot. The funniest part of that, the saddest part about that scene, is he genuinely was questioning it because, like, in his life, a month ago, he pretty much found out he was a frost giant, not an Asgardian.
That's true.
So he grew up his whole life knowing he was an Asgardian for over 1,000 years of his life. And then, within like probably a span of like a week for him, found out he was a frost giant, and then wondered, wait, am I a robot instead? What am I? I don't know what I am now.
Damn. And I was never going to be able to get those answers.
Right. So that's amazing that they did that little scene making him, because it's part of a joke. Is like, oh, funny, he doesn't know if he's gonna die or not. No, because he didn't know, because he doesn't know what he is for real. He's now questioning his own reality.
I love that.
Great.
I loved when Owen Wilson was like interrogating him, like asking him, like, do you enjoy killing him, like all these things that, and showing him everything that he did in the Avengers, like making him like actually like confront, like look at what you have done to do to like rule them, to like give them like a better life, like look at what the fuck you're doing, bro, and like actually getting him to think about that. I love that.
That's my one note. Like I actually wrote down because it made me makes me want to reference Arrow, the line, "I like it." And you didn't watch Arrow before, but that's funny to say, because there's like a villain called Prometheus who tortures Oliver Queen in that show. It was like a whole like up 2 episodes, 3 episode long thing of him torturing him until get him to say, confront it for real, and he's like, "I like killing." So this moment just showed that Loki says to himself, "I don't like killing," but Oliver Queen did, and that's funny to me. The god of mischief is like, "Yeah, I don't like it," but Oliver's like, "Fuck yeah." To be fair, Oliver was stabbed and tortured into saying it, so it probably wasn't actually really real what we thought, but it was just like, oh, neat. The Infinity Stones.
I love that moment so much.
Because people were like, oh, everyone died for nothing in Infinity War now. Endgame. They're just cheap objects here? No. First off, that shows two things. First off, it shows that to them, Infinity Stones are paperweights. That they're in a place so much more powerful as an idea. That was what they were trying to set up.
That.
Right. That's what they were trying to set up. But to me, as someone who's read the comics more, like I read Infinity Gauntlet and stuff, and knows this weird fact, that no. It's not even just that. Infinity Stones to them are just rocks because every universe in the Marvel multiverse has their own set of Infinity Stones. They only work in their own reality.
Exactly, and like the guy says, like, "Oh, we got tons of those," showing that, like, like there have been multiple times where people have tried to use Infinity Stones for whatever reason in multiple different timelines, and that they have so many of them that so many people just use them as paperweights that it's a common thing. Like, that's fucking insane.
That's because they all come from different wrong timelines.
Exactly.
And so they wouldn't work because they're different. They were pulled into the outside of the secret timeline, I guess. So in that world, they traveled 2 timelines over to the weird place.
I love that was the moment, like, when Loki, like, realized, like, oh, this shit is real. Like, this is not like an illusion or anything. Like, to them, Infinity Stones are paperweights. Like, they are more powerful than like anything that Loki could have imagined.
Overall, great episode, and I want to see more. I think it's my favorite out of the 3 pilots for the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, like WandaVision's like was good, but like it was just it was more there just to like get us used to the kind of feeling, but didn't give us a whole lot of information. Falcon and Winter Soldiers was definitely like very standard, still good, but like nothing incredible. But this stood out.
I stand by that. Falcon and Winter Soldier is not a TV show. It's 1 6-hour movie. They just took pauses in. Because that
I can understand that.
Yeah, it is just one movie, and I want to see if it works better watching a 6 hours when I'm done with it. Because I have 2
still got what, 2 episodes?
Yeah, I'm watching them tomorrow, both of them tomorrow night.
Fun.
Which I'll then touch on next week for the podcast. Overall, yay! Watch Loki.
Yay.
TV. Owen Wilson doesn't say wow once though. I don't think. I was very disappointed.
So then does that mean it's a nay then?
No. But I'm gonna give it a yay for his hair.
Yeah, I'll give it a yay for now. But if by the end of Loki, if he doesn't say wow once, the whole thing is getting an A.
My impression of Owen Wilson. I'm gonna be like this now.
What happened?
I don't know. I'm so tired.
I've never heard him go not baby talk, but just like I don't even know what to describe it as.
Anyway, so In the Heights happened.
Yes.
Okay,
and
so
this is...
hold on. We're gonna topic change. Second main topic for the day is Owen Wilson. Wait, no.
I mean, we could talk about Owen Wilson all day long.
Owen Wilson?
Yes.
Okay, so In the Heights is a musical, Broadway, off Broadway turned on Broadway turned movie musical.
It's made by a pretty small time Broadway writer and performer. I don't know if you've heard of him, Lin-Manuel Miranda. He did some weird musical about Alexander Hamilton. I don't know. It's cool to see that he's really gone up there in Hollywood though with this musical.
Josh, you made that joke twice now about Hamilton in the podcast.
I don't care. I'm reusing material because I don't remember shit.
Fair enough. I saw the show, not on Broadway. I saw a local very high quality production of In the Heights a few years back. Like
they had money, pretty much, is what you're saying.
The person who choreographed the show I saw was in Hamilton on Broadway. Like there was a great performance, production, and it was the original script and music, like original stage version. The movie's not the same. First off, I'm giving In the Heights 2 answers, but I'm going to let Josh say some things first.
I probably talked about this back in the first episode. I've done musical theater a lot in my youth, but I'm not someone that actively follows Broadway or sees shows mainly because of money. I never listened to the In the Heights soundtrack before the movie came out, so I really knew nothing about going in.
You've listened to some songs because me and my roommate Todd have played it for you.
Okay, yes, but I did not remember any of it.
How dare you? We were so passionate singing into your face.
But So yeah, I really had pretty much almost no knowledge besides Lin-Manuel Miranda co-created it. So that was exciting. Then the trailers came out. I loved it. Thought it was cool. Got me really excited. Then on Mother's Day this year, there was a free early screening of it. So I went and
And you
saw it
abandoned your
then.
mom to see musical.
I asked her if she wanted to go, but she had work. But I saw it and I fucking loved it. Sean and I are obviously going to have two very different responses because he knows the show, whereas I don't. And so I'm going off of this just as a film and what it is and what it does.
Which
And to
I'll be, hold on.
me,
I'll be reviewing this because I have 2 point of views on this. I'll be reviewing this as a film alone and as an adaptation.
okay. But yeah, for me, it worked like really, really fucking well. The story flowed fantastically. I loved the characters. The musical numbers were just fucking cinematic musical movie perfection. Like it does so much of it so goddamn well. I miss when movie musicals really just went all fucking out with their musical numbers because like the only ones recently that have done that have been like Greatest Showman, Rocket Man, a bit of The Prom, and now this. I'm probably missing some other ones, but like Disney, like I always rant about this. Disney's live action musicals have sucked like for the past several years. Like Into the
No, because
Woods.
they're not adapting the theater. They're adapting the animated movies instead of adapting
Yes,
theater
but
productions. That's why they suck.
that's still no excuse though for like creativity and
Agreed.
artistry with how the musical numbers can go, because like even though you're adapting an animated movie, you can still do a lot differently or similarly with live action. And like the fact that they don't, and like even like Lion King is just animals just standing around talking, like it drove me fucking insane.
Okay.
So to see just every other musical just like absolutely annihilate Disney in musicals, it brings me so much joy.
My friend sent me a tweet today and I asked me if I agree with this, and I say pretty much yeah. So this is from Blockbusted Pod at on Twitter. Their name is Houston Coley. They said there are some narrative choices made in the Heights movie that alter the Broadway show and almost exclusively make it worse, which is strange. But the biggest compliment I can give that show is it completely captures the spirit of the show, and that's what matters most. I almost firmly agree with all of those words. This is a worse show than the Broadway or the theater one. It is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's still great. That's what a compliment to the overall narrative is. But because
this to me, this is an interesting thing to hear because the original writer of the show, she wrote the screenplay for the movie. I think she was also a producer, and then Lynn was a producer. So like there was like, it's not like that someone like just like took the show. She's like, aha, I'm going to make changes. It's just like, no, they adapted their own thing and made changes that they thought would work best narratively for film. Because when you adapt anything into film, like whether it be book, video game, musical, show, you name it, like changes are going to have to be made for it to flow well.
I don't agree with this show for that. The entire order of this is changed. Not entire, but there's a lot of songs that there are some important songs cut, and some ones that aren't important that should have been cut. But the order of songs is changed, which changes the entire structure of the story.
So when do we want to get into spoilers?
I'm going to wait a second still.
Okay.
I like seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda as the Peter Agua guy. That's fun.
I loved him, and he was great.
The Peter Agua guy is funny and a fun moment in the show. If you like the musical, like on Broadway, I think you'll still like this if you can get past the entirely different script and a lot of changes to characters and motivations and things. Oh, what's it about? Just vaguely. To you, I'm curious.
To me,
because it'll be different than what I say.
Are you talking about themes or like just the story in general?
The story, but say it in 2 sentences.
In the Heights takes place in Washington Heights in New York City, and focuses on a group of people as they try to follow their dreams of like what they want to do with their lives and their passions and things like that. There's Usnavi, Vanessa, Nina, and Benny. They're just some of the characters that we follow. But we see the rest of how this community is, how close-knit they are, what the neighborhood means to them, and like how tough it is for them to be able to follow their dreams and still be a part of this community and their world, essentially.
I'll take that summary. That's a good job.
Yay!
It's different. I'm gonna get into spoilers now.
I'm very curious to hear.
You need to hear things what I say.
I'm very curious to hear exactly what these differences are, because it's obviously not going to change like how I think of it, because I don't know the show, but I'm still curious.
It is very different. It's a lot of small but still significant changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it changes the plot. First off in this, Nina's mom isn't dead. That's a big thing. Nina's mom had a pretty big part in the original show, and had probably my favorite moment in the whole show, originally. You know who Nina is, and her, right?
If you've seen the movie's in theaters now, it's also on HBO Max at the time of recording this. So if you're in the spoiler section and you haven't seen the movie yet, what are you doing? Go watch the movie.
Well, where to begin, Josh, with my little rant?
I don't know.
Nina's mom.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so Nina had two parents for one thing. That's the thing. There was no someone trying to buy the business. There were also, why was Patrick Page in this movie? Do you know who that is?
I do not.
The white guy who tried to buy from the business, the front.
Who's the actor? What's he been in?
He was on Broadway as Green Goblin.
Oh,
he also was Lord Frollo, Claude Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame on off Broadway.
So it was probably just like Lynn really liked his work and just like wanted him
also,
in like a small bit role.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal, amazing actor on stage, and on screen and stuff. So that makes sense. He's on Broadway. He also was the Grinch on Broadway.
Fun.
Or off Broadway. He was on a professional. He was the Grinch. He was not a character in the original. And the funny thing is, it's a long show originally. So the changes, they took out songs that were really important and replaced it with scenes that weren't. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hate that they still included 96,000 in this, but it was meaningless. I'm going to get into it. Hold on. I have a lot of thoughts on that. Because 96,000 as a song is such a huge song that everyone knows when they think In the Heights, the musical on Broadway, I'm pretty sure that's the only reason it was still kept in this movie, because they completely erased the plot of the ticket. That was the story originally. Abuela Claudia, she didn't hide the ticket. That was really, really, really weird, because she's supposed to have told Usnavi about it.
But how does it play out in the show with like the ticket and how it forms the entire story?
I'm going to get into that. So let's start with this song order is different. They also removed the fifth song, Inutil. In it, I can't pronounce. I'm not Spanish. I don't know how to speak Spanish, so a lot of words I will probably butcher trying to say the Spanish word. Inutil. It's the fifth song. It's after It Won't Be Long Now, which is sung by Vanessa. They also made her a fashion person, which was not on the show. That's fine. I get. I don't mind giving characters more things to do. That's always fine to me. But don't replace it with other characters giving them less things to do. It was a much better balanced show originally. If you make changes that make the show worse, don't make those changes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Inutil is the song that the dad sings about his Who I Am story. And why this mattered so much to him. Why putting his daughter to college mattered so much. His dad was a farmer. His dad's dad was a farmer. His dad's dad's dad was a farmer. And he was told, and you will be a farmer. And he's told him, Papa, I'm going farther. I'm getting on a plane. And I'm going to change the world someday. And he slapped my face, is what happened. So he left his parents behind and went away to New York City. He was getting by and scraping by and trying to get by, and then he and his wife started the cab company to give Nina a whole new life. And to Stanford, there was never a racial profile thing that happened in the original production. It was about...
Was there...
What?
No, go ahead. I was literally about to ask this question.
No, it was not at all about that. It was she dropped out. It wasn't that she was failing as much. It was... it was hard for her. But college wasn't for her. It was more about the idea of being the first person out in your family to go and do something with your life. Like the first, being the pressure. It was about the pressure of being the first generation college student, something like that, and then not wanting that life. And that was about more.
It works with this version, like her reasoning, and yeah, I had better thoughts about like how I was going to word it, but yeah, like it works.
I think most things in the movie do work. Every change in the movie still works for this movie. I think that's correct. I don't think none of the changes, though, I think work as well as they did in the originally. So most of them shouldn't have been changed. That's my biggest takeaway from this entire thing.
I'm guessing with Nina, with like the racial profiling thing, I think that was probably added because A, the world's a horrible place, and B, like people are speaking up a lot more, have been speaking up a lot more about that kind of stuff in recent years. So that's probably why that they add it now instead of in the original show back then.
There's one line in the movie I absolutely hated, and that's because it's nonsense to me. They're trying to kick out all the dreamers. I know it meant immigrants. I know that's what they were trying to go with it. But the way it's delivered and the way Sonny's
yeah, to me that's like the only like moment or line that like, ever felt forced about.
I would say immediately
just about anything.
If I heard that, I'm like, what? Elaborate, please. 96,000, the whole ticket thing. You want to hear about that? Because it's very
Yes, I'm
different.
curious.
First off, Abuela Claudia doesn't die in the blackout. That was a weird choice.
When does she die?
It's a better order of things. Carnival de Barrio is a song that happens before she dies, not after, when they party after her death in this movie, which made me very uncomfortable.
I would not consider it partying, but more kind of like finding like the joy and spirit in life that they lost like when she died, because she was such a huge part in their community, and to find like that love and passion again that they clearly lost when she
I would
died.
agree.
It's not just like, yay, we're partying. Ah, she's dead. Ah, who cares?
No, I know, but they didn't. It wasn't. The song was never. Wasn't about her though. It was more of it's hot. Let's stop complaining. The changing of the order of things makes some of the impact not as big. But also, this show in the end, originally, it's still about reflection. And they removed the best song in the whole show to me, and I'm very upset. It's Everything I Know. And it's about Nina's character, where they're going through the Abuela Claudia's things. And they see how much of an impact she had. It's like, there's a line that says, she saved everything I gave her, every little scrap of paper. Our whole lives are in these boxes, and the woman who held them is gone. But we go on. And that I love that entire moment of them just seeing how much she cared and then reflecting on themselves and stuff. It's great. So that's when she dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happens almost immediately after a Carnival de Barrio. They sing it, then they get Atención and then Alabanza and Everything I Know. There are 3 songs back to back about Claudia's death, pretty much.
Mm.
And then it goes to Piragua Reprise, Champagne, and the reason that Usnavi stays was not because they painted the mural to be of his dad's beach, which his dad wasn't a thing. Like, that wasn't. Yes, he had a father, obviously. He immigrated from Dominican Republic, but Abuela Claudia was his family. The Rosarios were his family. A lot of it was about found family. He wanted to go back to home, yes, but Claudia was more important to him than his father was, I guess.
I don't think that it was necessarily about his dad. Like, he talks about it, but it was more just kind of like this belief of, like, you know, like where he came from originally is, like, you know, where he's meant to be. And
Right.
then throughout the film, he realizes that where he is now, that is where he is supposed to be. And then, like, he can have that, like, that little dream of just like that little shack. He already has that in the bodega.
Sure.
And I think it works well in terms of that. Also, I want to just step back to like Abuela's death. I think from how I saw it, like in the movie, I was just like, oh, like in the show, like this is such a great place, like for like the end of like Act 1. Like you have this like big light, like joyous kind of moment, and then like Abuela just gives like this like amazing like song, powerful song, and then like, you know, she dies, and just like you end Act 2 there, like at that heartbreak. I was just like, ah, oh, damn.
That is not where Act 1 and Act 2 happened like that. Blackout is the last song in Act 1, yes. But it's basically chaos, fireworks, end of Act 1, and everyone's still lost. Everyone is scattered. No one knows where anyone is.
So it ends more just kind of like scattered, whereas here it ends in death and depression.
Yeah, let's get into I need to get this ticket because it changes the entire plot. So Usnavi originally didn't have the money to go. It was not an option for him to leave. It was not possible. He was working and scraping by, trying to make ends meet, and it was a dream to go back, but it was never like at all of visibility. In this, he was always planning the trip back. 96,000. They figure they have a ticket at 1, and then immediately after that song is Paciencia Fe, which is the song that in this movie she sung before she died, and they changed it to be like, she has a line like, "Do I stay or do I go? Like, do I leave or stay?"
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. In the original, it's, "What do I do with this winning ticket? What can I do but pray?" That was the line. Her talking about her life, reflecting on it, and oh my god, what do I do with this? I'm too old, I don't need money for this. And that was a amazing reveal of, oh, it was her who got it. And that was cool. If you haven't seen this movie or the musical, you're probably very confused right now. I'm so sorry.
Be confused.
Go watch the movie and then come back here and you can hear my breakdown of how it's so different. So this ticket, then she tells Usnavi, who was pretty much basically her son at this point, basically, or like her grandson.
Yeah.
Their connection is much stronger. I think it's much more of a solo connection. It's like in the movie, she's the abuela to everyone, Abuelita, but in the original production, it's Basically, she helped raise Usnavi and Nina more than anyone else. Mostly Usnavi, then Nina, then the block was like, oh, the nice grandma on the street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everyone loved her and cherished her, but it was not as much a family. So she then gives a third of the money to Usnavi and a third of the money to Sunny. Also, Sunny was never an illegal immigrant in the original version either. That was a plot added to get rid of the money. But in this, it was the way out for Usnavi. It was you can now have your dream. And I love the idea that he couldn't get out of this place. So the $96,000 ticket mattered more to people because $96,000 isn't a lot of money in terms of lottery winnings, but it is enough to get you out. And the idea in this movie that you could get out without that was not my favorite thing. Usnavi, it was his way out. And that was a huge deal. And then she died. Heartbreaking scene, by the way. In the movie, it also hurts heartbreaking. It's just very different. And the reason that he stays is different as well. At the end of the movie, he was going to leave, decides to stay after the song Champagne. How do you get this gold shit off? Great line.
I love that.
That made my girlfriend crack up in theaters. Also, the entirety of Champagne is hilarious. It's meant to be. It's sincere versus I'm an idiot who's not realizing what's happening. Which is kind of every guy's life.
Yes, exactly that.
At the end, the reason he decides to stay in the original production is because it wasn't a mural of Dominican Republic. It was on the outer, metal grate that locks up the Beneta. They pulled it down, revealing that Sunny got Pete, the guy with the spray can, to make a mural of Claudia. But the idea was a reminder of everyone he loves is here. Mm-hmm. And that's great. But then I thought it was more impactful than what they did in the movie. Like, you could have still done the movie, and that would have been not a change that needed to happen. That one specifically. Mm-hmm. Overall, though, good movie. It's a very different show. They also made Benny and Nina exes instead of which is, I didn't like that either because it changed the dynamic of that too. Bina and Nanny. Nina and Benny were original in this, and they're flirtatious and stuff. But it works for Nina's parents to make a living, to also try and prove to Nina and Nina's family that he is worthy of her love. I don't like that he was present in the movie for the discussion about the cab and Nina saying, I'm not going back to college and stuff. And I did it for you. Because that removes a fun conflict that happened in the show. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
This is so weird just to hear all this, because it's just I hear it and I'm I am willing that this does work in the show, but just with how they still did the movie, with the changes that they made, it's still a movie good. That works really but fucking well.
It's confusing. If you had seen the show first, you'd be like, yeah, all the changes are also bad changes. They're changes for the worse, but they're not bad either. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not being mad I got a B, but if I know I could have got an A, why did I get a B, you know?
Yeah, it hearing this kind of reminds me of that argument that people make about the Half-Blood Prince, the end in the tower scene, because in the book, Harry is petrified.
Oh, spoilers for Harry Potter.
I'm not going to get into the actual details of what happens, but then in the movie he's not petrified. He's just told stay down there, trust me, and then the thing happens, and it's two very different things, but both of them still work really well because one is based completely in trust, and the other one is just what the fuck are you doing? It's two different reactions, but they still work very well for their own respective stories.
There's a fight in Blackout between Usnavi and Vanessa. That was a fabricated fight in the movie, because in the show that they gave the fight that Nina and Benny had to them.
I will say that's the other moment that I'm just this kind of feels sense. Like that it's just misunderstanding of circumstances.
Right, they didn't want to change the lyrics. That's what it was. And they had to get someone because Nina and Benny didn't have the problem that they erased the problem by having Benny in the room during a different discussion. There's a discussion between Nina and Nina's dad. Benny hears that originally, not in that scene. He gets told on his own off stage by Nina's dad saying that I have sold the company to pay for Nina's education. He's told that when he gets fired. And so he's at the club drinking his life away, depressed and F you kind of thing to the world. And Nina comes in, and he's like, look, and with a bunch of other cab drivers too. And he tells her, he's oh look, it's the girl who cost us our jobs today. And she's like, it's not what I meant to do. And he's like, screw off. He's like, I'm gonna make things right. And it's this whole it's a better conflict that happened than what happened in the movie.
I'm willing to bet that they made that change because like I can already see like from that like the conflict like would have taken up a lot of like screen time, and like this is already trying to balance like a lot of shit and make it like still work well within the time frame that they have.
It doesn't take up a lot of time. That's the problem with it. That change specifically, it gets resolved. They have that night. They still have sex.
Great choice, buddy.
That's what happens. Like no, that literally they end up as they're fighting. When the blackout happens, they scramble for each other. It's just, I'm mostly upset with the 96,000 thing because they give the ticket was the plot in the movie. Usnavi was already leaving, and that wasn't his way out. It was just helpful, and he didn't use the money for even his own dream. Because originally he used the money to fix up the bodega. Oh right, I forgot. In the blackout, the bodega got destroyed in the show. Like it was vandalism what happened and stuff. It got raided. They basically went to have 96,000 without the plot of the ticket, so they gave it to a different. They wrote a new reason for it to be gone.
I think the reason works because it helps give Sonny more for his character, like more of his wants and desires that we learn about in the movie. So to have that element, and realistically, they did this again because of like shit that's been happening the last several years, and they wanted to add that, and they found a way to make it work.
My problem with it makes 96,000 to me have a little less meaning. The money to me is very low profile in everyone's mind. And again, great movie, just very, very, very different. And it confuses me to no end as most of the changes. Overall, though, I loved Anthony Ramos, first off.
I loved every song in this. I loved the musical numbers. They were all fucking fantastic. The director of this, John M. Chu, he directed Crazy Rich Asians. He's done other movies. And now he's set to direct the Wicked movie, which that has me very excited.
Overall, though, I'm giving the movie a yay. Even though it sounds like I've been complaining a lot, they changed and added a lot of things, so it's not the same story anymore.
Yeah, like with how I am with like adaptations of literally anything, like at this point in my life, I know to expect that things are going to be different. And like you have to make changes for film because of just the way the medium works, how the story unfolds, and everything like that. Like things are going to get cut, things are going to get added, things are going to get changed. Will it make it? It's just all like, will it make the film itself work? And of course, it's always debatable of like, was it a good choice? Was it bad? Who knows? For me, the only thing that I like movie wise in the near future I'm worried about in terms of adaptation is the Uncharted movie, which I have ranted about. There's things that they're doing that I'm already worried about, but there are things that I am excited for. And because it's a prequel, I'm really not going to be able to like say like, oh, it's a bad adaptation because there's no actual Uncharted prequel game.
We both love this movie. It's just, I'm going to watch it again soon. I think that's kind of like how I feel about Guardians 2 when I first saw it. Where I was really, really disappointed at first because it was not at all to me it fell a lot flatter than the first one, but it's not bad, Whereas
it's just the kind of movie that that you like it, and that upon like further rewatches you're gonna find more to like, but it's just gonna take time.
Right, but even just that, I still think it's.
Eventually, you'll be able to see it more as its own thing than compared to the show.
I can do that now. It's just that's why I can give it a higher rating than I would have if I didn't see it apart. There's still just weird things. Like Ready Player One, it's an entirely different story.
Yes, that is definitely a case of like, wow, you changed everything. But again, we've talked about this before personally. Like, I think the changes that they made in the movie, most of them work well for the medium of film. In terms of like just making it an exciting film and pushing the narrative forward. Now, of course, there are changes in there that's just like, well, that either A does nothing or B was a weird choice.
Right.
And sometimes the book did things better.
I feel like we have similar thought. Yeah, I think often in the book for Ready Player One, it was like, I think a lot of character choices from book to movie were better in the book, of course. You saw.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a similar reaction. It's like, why? Like, it's fine. It works on its own. It's good. But why did you do those things? When they worked better before? And I guess
let's get like Lynn and the writer of the show and movie like on the podcast. Let's just ask them these questions. It can't be too hard, right?
I would love that. I'd love to just discuss, because I'm not trying to insult your work. I love the movie. I think it's just, I'm confused. It's still great. It's just not. You're watching a different story. It's an entirely different script. A lot of changes, but they keep the spirit alive, and that's what I want when I'm watching anything. Keep the spirit alive.
If you're just a lover of musicals, both stage and screen, if you're looking for just a really damn good movie that is not only just a great movie, but a really fun one that'll make you feel emotions and shit, this is a great one to choose. I highly recommend seeing it in theaters because it's just fucking awesome to see in theaters. But if you can't for any number of reasons, then it's on HBO Max. I'll definitely be rewatching it soon. But it's easily one of my favorite movies of the year so far.
Super weird stories, Josh. Okay, so you ready for this?
Sure.
Damn it! So, Josh, I realized we probably should have flipped these segments because I had a great segue otherwise.
Eh.
So these facts are about Loki.
Huh. Strange.
I wonder why. So, super weird stories, I'm flipping on its head a little bit. It's not going to be a super weird story. Like, at least not in the super aspect. I mean,
not in the way that it's been in the past few episodes.
This talk will be about Loki, the Norse god.
Like the actual mythology.
Because I figured it'd be fitting to compare, since we talk about Loki, the character in Marvel movies, to compare a little bit to how was he like in mythology.
Fun.
And I'm using a page on a website called Norse Gods and Goddesses, Facts About Loki.
That's always fun.
So what do you want to know, Josh?
What's his favorite pie?
I'm going to go with key lime because it's green.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Let's start with the fact that the first earliest reference of him was in a 13th century collection of Norse poems called Poetic Edda. The poems are passed down from generation to generation. Also, my processing power has gone down to I'm going to go with 5 now instead of 6 like I said last time. I've gone down a point after talking about the heights that are in. Josh?
Yes.
Did you know that Loki is known for his part in the death of Baldur? Baldur is the son of Odin. Also, Loki is the brother of Odin, not son originally.
You say
Loki is the brother of Odin, sort of.
Interesting.
Sort of. I'll get into it in a minute.
And who'd you say Baldur was?
Baldur is the son of Odin. So yes. Loki killed him with a spear made from mistletoe, thrown at.
This is literally this was in the newest God of War game. Baldur was basically the main villain, and he had no weaknesses at all. And then Atreus, Kratos' son, at the end of the game, we find out he was originally going to be named Loki, and I don't know if it's he figures out his weakness is that, and that's how you're able to kill him. So that's interesting.
His father was a giant, and his mother may have been a giantess. I like may have, it's funny. He had several children, including Jormungand, a giant snake living in the sea surrounding the known world. He basically gave birth to a giant freaking serpent. That was the monster of the seas.
All right, then.
Also, he shapeshifted into a horse, a female horse, had sex with a male horse, and it gave birth to an 8-legged foal.
This man was very curious.
Well, he's gender fluid, or they're gender fluid. It's like they always have been. They are now also in the MCU, confirmed to be that. That's cool.
Then let me rephrase. That god was very curious.
Yes. Also, the way the comics approach Loki's gender fluidity is by whenever they are shapeshifting into the form of a male, or they are in the Loki normal form, they are referred to as he, him, pronouns-wise. If they are shapeshifting into any female, they are referred to as she, her. That's pretty cool. Similarly in Norse mythology. Did you know that also, remember in Thor Ragnarok, the giant wolf, Fenris?
Yes.
That's Loki's child in the comics. Well, not comics, in the original Norse mythology. Loki asked a giant to help build Asgard, one of the 9 worlds, the gods. The giant asked for the sun and moon if he completed the work on time. I don't know if he got it, but that's impressive. The gods.
I wonder what kind of time crunch they were on.
The gods became tired of Loki's jokes and mischievous behavior, naturally. They chained him to a rock, where a poisonous serpent dripped venom onto him. His shouts of pain supposedly caused the earthquakes. That's fascinating. Also terrible. They got tired of him just being annoying, so they tortured him. forever.
It's just like this person's annoying. Let's just tie. I'm bored. Let's tie them up.
We're gonna go with now a next thing called Loki facts for kids. You ready for this?
Sure.
Also, I'm gonna mention one thing. In do you know Hela
Yeah.
in Ragnarok? Her original version is called Hel, and she looks half skeletal, half like flowy Renaissance goddess woman.
I would have loved to see Kate Blanchett as that.
Right? It's a cool. I'll show you the picture later. It's a really
I
cool
mean,
design.
I mean, I love her design in Ragnarok as it is, but like just that idea alone is just like that sounds awesome.
Loki has a magical cloak, and named Freya's magical cloak. So he borrowed Freya's magical cloak at times to change into a falcon. Take that, Sam Wilson. And he had been known to take the form of a mare, a salmon, and an old Jotun woman. That's an ice giant woman. He liked to shapeshift a lot. He already gave birth to a horse.
That's I don't want to know what the pain process is like for an animal giving birth, because like if you've seen big animals give birth, like cows and stuff, like oh my.
The 8-legged horse is called Sleipnir, and that horse became the favorite horse of Odin. Poor Loki.
This just raises so many more questions for the future of the God of War games.
Loki has also had many other children, like Hel or Hela, which is the movie. Yeah, that's his daughter. Fenrir the wolf, Jormungandr, or I can't pronounce. And then he and his children became enemies of gods in Ragnarok, aka like the death of everything, basically. This next line just says Loki is a murderer.
I mean, yeah.
He cut off the hair of Thor's wife Sif, but then replaced it. He tricked a giant into building the defensive walls of Asgard, stole Freya's necklace, helped Thor rescue his hammer Mjolnir, gave the goddess to a giant.
Words.
I can't pronounce this one, and it has a funny symbol. I don't know what it is. It's Nordic. I don't know some of these things. Then rescued her, etc. He was blamed for the death of the god Baldur. He was using the blind god Holdor's hands, I think. And in a poem called Loki's Arguments, I love that it's called that. He insulted all the gods and goddesses, every single one of them, in his poem.
A small child.
For this, Loki was punished multiple times. Not once.
multiple times.
At Ragnarok, Loki was freed by the giants and fought against his rival, the god Heimdall, resulting in the demise of both of them.
Damn, that's rough, buddy.
So Loki's a fascinating character in mythology. His mom was Laufey in mythology. Laufey was remember the ice giant in Thor who tried to kill.
Yeah.
It is unknown whether his mother was a lesser known goddess or a giant, and his father was definitely a giant.
In the God of War game, Kratos' wife, she was a giantess. We don't learn that until the end of the game.
Interesting. In Old Norse, Loki means close. Which is funny because we now say low key, and that's like that's pretty funny to me. Oh yeah, and Fenrir, Loki's wolf baby, eats Odin during Ragnarok.
Oof, that's rough, buddy.
I still think it's funny he blinded someone and killed him with mistletoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Loki for you mythology. How different is that than when you thought it was going to be?
I knew like a tiny bit, but most of it was from the God of War game. But also, I had no idea like exactly like how much of that like was like purely taken from the mythology and how much wasn't. There's some stuff like the World Serpent in the game, like he already exists as not a creation of Loki. There's a lot of things that had to exist without Loki because we don't find out that Kratos' son is Loki at the end of the game. But other than that, like there's some stuff like with Baldur that was kept pretty faithfully. I think in the game he was the son of Odin. I don't know if that's what he said or not.
He's not. Wait, who is Baldur?
Yeah, I think Baldur is the brother of Thor and the son of Odin.
That's correct.
Okay.
Also, I think it's pronounced Tor.
Just hearing all these facts about Loki just makes me go, man, I'm really excited for God of War Ragnarok. That's gonna be so much fun.
That wraps out our podcast. If you have any other thoughts on anything, Josh?
Do good, school kids. Do good, don't die, smash all the way.
Are you disappointed you didn't get an official nickname this week?
Yes, and the next week I better get the best nickname ever, or else.
Josh, I am at
That was
3% capacity of my battery, of the Sean battery. Meaning, after this, I get food. Thank you all so much for listening to the podcast this week, episode 5. Next week, we might bring a guest on. Who knows?
Who knows? Who will that guest be? Currently, I don't know. And I don't know. Sean knows.
No, guests would be fun, though. If you guys want to see guests, also, do you want to have shout-outs? Because we eventually would love to have, like, reading emails or just shouting you out or anything like that. Or send us your cat scratching as a theme song. Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Josh, they can find you on Twitter, right?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at J_Rudy28, the Instagrams at J_Rudy16, and on YouTube at Josh Rudolph. I do movie reviews, video essays, other things very infrequently, but hey, I still do them.
And you can find me on Twitter at The Theater Nerd. And I also run the GeekSpeak and NerdTalk social media pages, and I added the podcast and put it up there. So just email us at nerdtalkproductionsyt@gmail.com or tweet at us at nerdtalk_prod on Twitter using the hashtag GeekSpeakPod. Thank you all for listening to this podcast, and tune in again next week for more news. I promise, if you hate theater, next week will not be about theater, unless it is.
We might make it all about theater next week just to piss you off.
Actually, it might genuinely be about theater, so who knows? Anyway, thank you for listening. See ya. Bye.